I had a pleasure today of interviewing Divya Gupta, who was in the tech industry for many, many years, engineer, high performing, busy lifestyles. I have so many friends that are in the tech industry, and I have watched their adrenals completely burn out, and I've watched their health take a back seat. And she is on a mission to help people understand that just because your family members had a diagnosis or you have a diagnosis does not mean that you have to accept symptoms, that you have to accept just one in the box answer. She is on a mission to teach you to take control of your health, to be curious about your health. And we are going to dive into what the tech industry did to her as a woman, as an immigrant woman, as living by other people's expectations as to what success is, and how that was actually holding her back, and how the world, out of nowhere, decided to make the decision for her that she needed to go a different path. Sometimes, as she says, if you're faced with a decision and you don't make it, the world will eventually make it for you. My pleasure to introduce Divya. Hi, Divya. How you doing?
Hi, Dr. Tricia. I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm so excited for our conversation today.
We have so much to talk about. There's so many different interesting aspects of your story that just kind of weave in and out that I think relate to so many people. But one of the things that I was talking to you about before we jumped on is
Mhm.
I have a lot of friends that are in the tech industry, and I watch them burn themselves into the ground to the point where they're working, long hour days. They're working in the middle of the night. They're missing events. They're running from here and there. They're putting off their health. They see it in their health, but they like that it's required, right? You have to work like a dog in order to be successful or in order to earn that income or do whatever. And I get that. But at the same
Mhm.
time, I really want to speak to these people because as I've learned, and I know you have learned, is that we can keep pushing and powering through and just trying to do everything in life. But our life isn't guaranteed. Our
Mhm.
timeline isn't guaranteed. Our health is not guaranteed, right? And we miss things along the way. And ultimately, we could find ourselves very sick and very unhappy. And I want to stop people from doing that. So I would like to, first of all, your history. So you immigrated here and went right into the tech industry, right? How did you end up in that job?
Oh, absolutely. So, gosh, what you were saying was my life a few years ago. I'm like, oh gosh, she's just describing my life, how it was. But, very stereotypical Indian immigrant. I came here for my master's back in 2004. Wow, it's been 21 years. And, the goal, you come here is the big American dream. So as soon as I got done, while we were still in my master's, getting that internship, and then the full-time job, that was a dream, otherwise you don't get your visa, you have to go right back, right? You need a job for sponsorship.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got my Silicon Valley job. I actually started in consulting,
Mhm.
working for a top four consulting firm in New York City, and where I was traveling 3 4 5, we used to call it. You're traveling from Monday to Thursday,
Mhm.
and you're constantly on customer sites. Yeah, so that was my life. So that's what I came here for, and I achieved it, right? I achieved my American dream where I was making a six-figure salary, working for a top four consulting firm, living in one of the best cities in the world. What else could one want?
You
Uh,
start to get
and
all the things, right? It's like all these things that you feel like you're supposed to have when you're successful. Maybe you have a nice car, a nice house, you have the things you want to, you're with the people, you're interacting with the people who are bigwigs, and you think, wow, I've arrived, right? From the outside, it looks like you have everything. But what was going on inside?
gosh, yeah, it's from the and it's there are a ton of Indians in this country. So and even in my undergrad grad school, there were a lot of Indians. So that's what we came here for. So a lot of it was meeting outside expectations. And never really, honestly, I never really asked myself, what do I want? What are my expectations? It was always growing up, you're either a doctor, lawyer, or engineer in India. So those were the only options. So I went the engineering route. So I'm a computer science engineer, and I know what I'm doing is completely 180 degrees 360
I
different.
love that though. We'll get to that. Like that's the I mean, you were set
Oh,
out to do something and you were achieving it. So, were you happy?
I thought so. I thought I was happy, but I really wasn't. Honestly, I never really asked myself, is this what I want? Am I happy? Why I should be happy, right? The should factor. I have the job, I have making the salary, I'm traveling wherever I want to travel, I have the freedom, I'm living my life. I should be happy. I am happy. But in the background, my health was deteriorating,
Hmm.
and you just take it. That's life. That's what the conventional system said. That's expected. Everyone in your family has this issue. So, and you get used to living life that way. And when you're 20, and this happened to me when I was in my early mid 20s, at that point you can push through a lot. Even though you feel like crap, you can power through it. And because our bodies are beautiful, right? They really want to work for us and not against
Hmm.
us. So in a way, I'm glad that happened to me so earlier on, because I learned my lesson, and before it was too late, I was able to retract the steps. But I continued working in this corporate culture for 16 plus years. So from there, from New York City, I moved to Silicon Valley, the heart of tech industry, 10, 11 years ago, and worked at various startups, different startups after consulting. And exactly what you described. It's never a 9 to 5 job. There are
Yeah.
always presentations. There's always there's never enough, to move to the next ladder. And the corporate, the carrot that everyone dangles, okay, for
Hmm.
the next promotion, the next promotion. That's what felt like. That was I described my worth. For me, my worth was the outside success. What am I a manager now? Am I a senior manager now? My worth was tied to my accomplishment. And for that, you just keep on going. That hamster wheel never ends. There's always, you do this, there's more expectations, then you get a team, you manage a team, you still have your, it was endless. And I got the message. I wasn't, that's why, so I was, subtly, I was getting that message, why am I doing this? I would come home and I'm like, I was living for the weekend. Really, like, I used to love playing tennis or all my other hobbies, it was all for the weekends, living for the weekends. Or just Monday to Friday, we got to just grind it out because I'm making that 6-figure salary. I'm doing
Yeah.
what is expected of an Indian immigrant. You are in tech. You're in.
This is what's expected of you. You better play the role. Your happiness isn't truly important. What's happy is you being successful. And what's the definition of success? And I think we all go through that
Mm,
regardless. We're like, what makes us successful? And sometimes we set out on something that we think is what we want.
mm,
And we start to have all these clues that it's not. But our stubbornness in our head says, nope, this is what
mm.
we're supposed to do. Everyone told me this is what life is about.
Yeah.
This is why we come to America. This is why we do this or that, is to get this or that. But your health was screaming at you. You had signs that this is not healthy for you. And it sounds like you went through this period of just like, you should accept that. You should just be that way because your genes are this. You work a high pressure job. No big deal.
Mm.
We'll just deal with your gallbladder issues or your thyroid issues. It's fine. We'll just put a patch on it, get your butt back to work and go be successful. Is that kind of what it felt like?
Oh yeah, like because everyone, what coffee can fix your fatigue. You can go get your coffee, get an espresso. I love my coffee. I love my
I've got
coffee.
my
I have
coffee right here.
Oh, trust me, I love the smell of coffee. It's nothing but like the 2 p.m., 3 p.m. coffees, the desserts that you needed, that everyone was getting around you.
Yeah.
You didn't realize you needed that to keep going. Your body was like shutting down tired, but you just needed that extra push to keep
Yeah.
going, and the work never ended. Yeah, and my health started screaming at me. Well, I didn't know, was even when I was 20, while I was still in India, my gallbladder was taken out because I had screaming gallbladder. Like, really, I've been through 2 childbirths. I
Hmm.
would still take childbirth over the gallbladder pain that I went through for months. It was, any women who'd gone through it, I know, oh gosh, I still had PTSD from that pain for some time, even after my gallbladder was taken out. Even a little tummy ache, and I'll be like, oh shoot, the pain's
Yeah.
back. The pain's back. So I came out of nowhere. I was a healthy 20-year-old. I wasn't overweight, nothing. Because in India, we don't go to the doctor unless you're sick. So nobody's really,
Yeah.
that's, we don't.
Yeah.
If you only go to doctor if you are sick. So I didn't know if something was going on. I don't have my records or blood work done. I don't think I ever got my blood work done until later. So I had no idea. But I really had really bad gallbladder attacks out of nowhere. And long story short, by the time they figured out what it is, the doctors were, oh, we can take it out. You can live without a gallbladder. I'm like, oh, sounds good to me. Get me out of this pain right now. And and honestly, I didn't know what a gallbladder did at that point, what its
Well, they
role
don't
was.
tell you. They don't tell you what it does. They just say, "Oh, this thing's annoying. Let's just get it out of here. Don't eat fat."
Yeah,
Right? Was that like
yeah.
the
Don't. I couldn't, even if I wanted to, I couldn't because my situation was so far gone that it had to be taken out because
Yeah.
I was literally screaming in pain. I think at one point I told my mom I was 20, I want to die. This pain is like
Yeah.
literally, I'm like, it was towards the end was really bad. So maybe that was the only option. But how did it go from zero to that?
Well,
It doesn't happen overnight.
I was gonna ask you, and I don't know, I'm kind of putting you on the spot here because I haven't been able to look this up because I just thought of this question, but I was trying to remember what the emotional link to the gallbladder is in Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine. Do you know?
I know liver has anger
Yeah.
and fear. So I'm guessing since gallbladder is right below the liver, even I'm not sure. I wish I looked like
Yeah,
I would
because I
think
was
it's
like,
connected.
yeah, and I just wonder, like, if you go back to that time where you're striving to become an engineer, you're trying to come to America to live the American dream and whatever, I just wonder what were your emotions going on at that time? Because when we look at health, you and I see this every day.
Hmm.
You have somebody who maybe is fine, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they
Hmm.
have these severe symptoms. And I usually find there's some sort of emotional link to it or something they were going through in their life,
Hmm.
whether it be stress, maybe it was fear, maybe it was like, okay, I know what I'm supposed to do. Maybe deep down, your body knew this isn't what I want to do, but I'm doing it anyway. And maybe that exacerbated it. I just wonder. I just thought
I
of that.
want
I put us both on the spot with neither of us
n-
doing research.
no, no, but I totally believe in that, and I have thought back to that time because I didn't know any better. Like I was doing what I was supposed to do. It's not that my parents pushed me, oh, you have to
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah.
It was like an unspoken pressure that I put on myself because I'm the youngest child, I'm the third child, and my sister who's she's an engineer. She came to the US. I was in a way silently following her footsteps, or
Yeah.
that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
My dad has his own business, but I don't know why he never thought about, hey, you should join our business and come on in and become an entrepreneur. I have my brothers in the middle. I always knew, oh, he's going to take over the business after my dad, or join the family business. Again, it's so like the unspoken pressure put on myself, and that was so competitive because in India, like academics was everything,
Yeah.
and everyone is striving to get. I wrote my GREs. You have to give your all this examination to come to the US. So there was a lot of pressure, and I knew I had to do well. So it could be that could be playing a role, but
Is it still
I
that way? Is there still that amount of pressure, or has the culture changed a little bit to adapt to that? I was interviewing someone else who was talking about same thing, lawyer, doctor, engineer. There's no entrepreneurs. She was like, there's no, you don't go off and start your own business. But has that changed? Has that culture changed for the newer?
mm,
Do you know?
Uh, well, it's been so long ago. Like it's been 20 some years that I live
Yeah.
here. I do go back and, I have my niece and nephew. Not so much, not at the rate, maybe in bigger cities. Like in the more bigger cities, you can, with social media and everything else, there's a lot more exposure.
Mhm.
But I would say still, I think more the dominant or prominent careers are your doctors, lawyers, um,
Yeah.
engineers, because that's where you can make the most money, right? That's what is in demand. And the
Money
IT
is the
industry,
yeah,
money
money
is a
is
driver.
the driver. So do you sorry, I'm totally just diving into this.
No, no,
I just take
please.
whatever comes at me. Um, so you have a 9-year-old and you just had a baby, by the way. Congratulations. Yay.
Thank you. Thank
So
you.
exciting. Thank you for taking time away from nursing. Um, do you feel like do you now approach your children in a different way when it comes to success? Because those cultural habits that we develop, I mean, I grew up in an entertainment industry and everyone, I mean, generation after generation and what I learned, I see myself, I catch myself passing that on to my kids. I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't theirs to have, and it's really
Mhm.
hard to break. Have you had that
Yeah.
struggle as well?
I said my older son is 9, so it's early, but he does see all around, people, the community that we move around, everyone is in tech, either a
Yeah.
CEO or so he sees that the travel. He does I used to go to work. So I used to work in tech. I used to have that.
Yeah.
Now for the past 3 years I've changed. So he does see that as well. Um Honestly, haven't had that conversation, but he
It's watching.
is watching us, right? He's learning what we are. I say, "Hey, I'm home now. Have a more flexible schedule. I can be at all your events." So he does notice that. But but in Silicon Valley, he's like, "I'm going to have my own company." Like, everyone has a startup here. So he's
Yeah.
like, "I'm going to have my own company. I'm going to buy these and then sell this online." He's big into NBA and basketball. He
Mhm.
keeps buying all these jerseys. He's like, "Our friends are going to collect and then we're going to go sell it and make some money." And
Ah, you got an entrepreneur. All right. Well,
I
you're
got an
in for it.
entrepreneur, or he wants to be he wanted to be an NBA player. Like, I'm all about become an athlete. Like, if you follow your dreams, then he's like, I want to be the GM for the Warriors. I'm putting it up
Oh, good for him. Well, gosh,
there.
so the drive just runs in the family,
The
apparently.
drive,
My
it
kids,
does.
mine's heading off to college next year, and I'm like, "What are you gonna study?" "I don't know. We'll find We'll see." I'm like, "Ugh, okay, dude, you gotta make a decision." That's funny. I wanna talk to you about the moment because you still stayed. Did you still stay in tech while you were building what you do now? Like, were you overlapping? What was that moment where you said, "I'm enough. I'm what I need to do. I
Mhm.
don't need to put up with this demand anymore." Was there a moment that you experienced that let you take that leap and completely divert careers?
Oh, oh yes. I know we touched on it a little bit before we were talking about, and the universe is always listening. Universe is giving you what you want. I totally believe in that. You just have to make the ask very, very clearly of what you want. And if you don't, and we are we are all here for a reason. I
Mhm.
truly believe we have lessons to learn and a paths. And if we don't make that decision for ourselves, or if you don't listen to the clues, the universe will make that decision for us. I learned this a very hard way. So yeah, I've worked in tech for 16 plus years. I was, it's not easy to leave. Like, I was almost in my late 30s when I made the decision. That's it, I'm done, because I'm getting the six-figure salary. It's security, right? And,
Mhm.
we moved to the Bay Area, one of the most expensive zip codes to live in, and the taxes. So
Yeah.
how could I just quit? But I just got into this space for my own health and my own passion. I'm like, I need to do better. Back, once my gallbladder was out, if I just touch on the story, how I got into this space,
Mhm.
I was fine. I came to the US, even though my health, I would still have episodes of, now when I look back, more like IBS, like I would go from constipation to diarrhea.
Mhm.
I was in an Ivy League school, add more stress. Oh, I have to get my internship. I have to get my job. So more add stress. We know how debilitating stress can be and how it affects health. And it kept going and kept going. And I was tired all the time. I would sleep for 10 hours and I would be like, I'm still tired. My muscles, my legs would ache. Like, I was still in my 23, 24. My boyfriend at that time, or my husband now, my boyfriend, I'm like, just press my legs. It's just hurting. Like, it was just bad. And you would think it was, I was working late, there's too much work going on at work. That's what you chalk it up to.
Right.
But then finally around 24, 25, I just, again, by accident, I got the diagnosis of Hashimoto's because my yearly OBGYN checkup, she finally felt my thyroid. And
Finally.
like, which doctor, like, I don't think the doctors even touch you anymore to feel what's
Or
going
even
on.
screen for Hashimoto's as a screening measure to catch it before it becomes a hypothyroidism. I mean, that would be nice.
Well, even if they screen it, it'll just be TSH, and we know
That's
TSH.
what I'm saying. They're not even looking at the antibodies to look. I mean, but you're right. Okay, so you get a diagnosis of Hashimoto's, which, by the way, I think it's like 80% of women have Hashimoto's at this point, which is it breaks my heart because I believe there's a huge stress component to it and the way that it exasperates and in the people. You could have two women with Hashimoto's antibodies, and I just want to say this to the people listening, is that
Mhm.
you could have two women with the same number of antibodies, and one feels great and one doesn't. It's not just about the antibodies, it's about a holistic picture towards healing, which of course you learned as well. So I just wanted to put that out there because I do get that a lot. Women are like, "Oh, I have Hashimoto's, it's over. I can no longer have children, my hair's
Yeah.
going to fall out and I'm going to gain all the weight." No, that is, do not, as we were talking about acceptance, do not accept that as an answer. Do not accept it. Do your investigation. So anyway, you find out off
Yes.
your soapbox, you find out you have Hashimoto's.
And the only, oh, you're a synthroid, off you go.
Yeah.
And at 24, 25, you don't question the doctors, right? Okay, the doctor knows best. And how do you advocate for yourself? I didn't know what to ask at that point. Nobody was, we don't have these platforms and these conversations happening this was so long ago. I'm like, I'm turning 42 in a few weeks. And for everyone who has Hashimoto's, your hair does not need to fall off. I did have my second child at almost 42, so it can happen. And I maintain my weight. So it
Yep.
can happen. So please don't give up.
Mhm.
So yeah, and I got my son and she said, "Oh, your mom has it, your sister has it, so it just runs in the family, it's in your genes. So you just accept it." As I said, I'm like, okay, start taking the medication. For me, the turning point was I didn't make the connection. My mom had this exact same. I was following her footstep, but a lot earlier. After her Hashimoto's diagnosis, which in India they still didn't call it that, or you just have thyroid issues. Then she got a diagnosis of rheumatoid arthritis, the second autoimmune condition. Knowing what we know now, hey, once you get one autoimmune condition, you're three times likely to get another one.
Mhm.
I didn't know the stat at that point, but I just knew I had to do something about it because I don't want that.
Yeah.
Life isn't pretty with rheumatoid arthritis and pain all the time. And she was only in her early 50s at that point, not
Yeah.
like 10 years older than I am right now. And her
Okay.
life just seemed to be in a box. Like
Mm.
everything, every little thing would she'll have a flare up. So that's when I got into, okay, what can I control? What can I change? And I just knew, okay, food is something I know I can control and change. So that's where I started, okay, let me take out gluten, let me take out dairy. We were not talking about gut health. We were not talking about the
Yeah.
gluten impact on Hashimoto's, the antibodies. But once I made those changes, I felt better. I'm like, I didn't realize I was bloated all the time until I took those foods out. I
Isn't that
just
funny? You never notice until they're gone and you're like, "Oh, wow."
I'm like, I don't have a little pooch. It's like, it was just bloat. And even then I didn't understand the connection, but I just started experimenting and for me it was, oh, what else is there? What else? I just got curious and got into the space changing. Okay, let's eat organic. I think juice cleanse was becoming a fad, something new. I tried a juice cleanse and I felt good. Like, just taking a break from all the crap I was eating because I was traveling. I was in consulting then. I was traveling all the time.
You know what? That's a huge point about that industry. Not only is there high stress, but you're traveling and you're doing parties where you're being fed alcohol and foods, and you're in hotels and you're kind of
Mm.
stuck. Whether you eat at all and take a break to eat, when you do, you eat quick. That is a very good point because that is contributing to a lot of those issues in that industry for sure.
Absolutely. You are like you have customer engaged dinners and you're drinking
Mhm.
wine. On customer's dime, you're not paying for it. So I'm not
Right.
saying that should drive it, but you just, oh, let me get one other thing. And yes, you're in hotels a lot.
Mhm.
You're breathing in that air and all
Mhm.
the air fresheners and the stress of going to the
Yeah.
airport and the taxi. So yes, I had all of that going through. But the juice cleanse, I'm like, oh, there's something to it. So that's what got me into. I just got really curious. Okay, let me start reading up. Let me start changing what I can control. Even then, I never thought in a million years that I would be doing something so different. And I moved to the tech area, and I'm like, now I had my first son. I'm like, I need to do it for us. Because people were asking me, what are you doing? You're looking different. You started questioning me, like,
Ugh.
help us. Then I let me go back to school. Again, that opportunity came about and honestly, I thought I'm like, I cannot switch careers. Like I went to school as a computer science engineer. I'm in that industry. I can't switch careers.
What
I
would
can't do
people
something
think?
different. What will people think, or what would that be? I can't go back to school now as a 30 something and restart, start over again. That doesn't make sense. That's stupid.
Mhm. I'm too
um,
old. Yeah, I know, all
I'm
the
too old.
excuses, right? Yeah.
But again, I just came across this program that I'm like, oh wow, I can do this. As a distance learning while I'm doing my full-time job. I'm like, let's do it because I just love learning and for it didn't feel like work, even though I had a young kid,
Mhm.
even though I was working in my full-time. I was in Silicon Valley then. It just didn't feel like work. I just enjoyed it so much and I learned so much. I'm like, oh, I'm going to help more people. I'm going to have this my own practice because somewhere when I look back, when I thought back, even when I was a little kid, I remember I had a dream. I wanted to be my own boss. That's all
Yeah.
I knew. I didn't know what it was. I wanted to be my own boss. I somewhere that little Divya forgot about that dream of becoming my own boss. I got into what everyone was doing around me or what was expected.
Hmm.
And even in Silicon Valley, as you know, oh man, it was it's never enough. It's never enough because everyone around you is working that hard. So if you want that promotion, it's you have to burn the midnight oil. Period. That that's
It's
it.
so sad because I don't actually believe that. And people who are in Silicon Valley are probably like, yeah, whatever, Dr. Pingle, you don't know. But I run my own business. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a busy woman. Like I have a lot of tasks to do. I
Mm.
do tech on the back end. I mean, we're essentially startups, right? Because we
Oh
go out
yeah.
in the world and we say we're going to build this business. It might be a different industry. It may not need as much and might not need an engineer in the background. It may not need as big of a team, but that because it doesn't need that huge team, it takes a lot of our time.
Mhm.
But I found that when I started really burning the midnight oil, my quality of work was significantly worse. I didn't love what I was doing. My videos were worse. I didn't look like I was enjoying it. And then when I started to take that time off, I would get these inspirations where I could work and create this amazing content, help so many people, but also serve myself. So
Mhm.
I'm imagining you started to find that as well, because at some point you said, I'm out.
Oh yeah. So it continues. I got my nutrition consultant certificate, and I'm gonna started working as a side hustle. Like I would take on a client or two to work because even then I was so scared. The fear of I can't quit.
Yeah.
I can't quit. I can't just leave this. I need to build a business, and that's a smart decision.
Yeah.
Build it. Once you start getting some income, then you would
Mhm.
quit your daytime job, right? Maybe more practical, maybe, but I just couldn't like do and because a Silicon Valley job is never a 9 to 5. I can't put
Yeah.
like 60 hours a day, take care of my family and my young child, take care of me because my health was always my priority. Like take care of me and build a business. It wasn't happening. And I wasn't brave enough at that point to make the decision just to quit. And my final at the startup that I was like within a few months I had a team of 10 that I was leading. They promoted me within a few months. They could get me more RSUs. Things were going really great. And somewhere I was like, oh, wow, maybe this is it. But I was so tired inside. Uh, I was not happy, but I'm like, this is what I've been working for. But it was such a toxic culture that I was seeing all around. And one day it just came for me. And
Yeah.
and next day I knew I didn't have a job, and they questioned they started questioning the person I am, and that's what hurt me the most. Like, the kind of person I am, taking conversation out of context and switching it to this is what you said. Gosh, it took me a while to get out of that because it was really, really hard to have somebody question the kind of person you are and who you are, what you're doing. Um, and I'm like, okay, you gave me the wings and you gave me all this team, and then suddenly next day I don't have all of that, and I'm not a good performer. And
That's it's like you said something, if you don't make a decision, the world will make it for you, right? And I think in that moment, let's say, you lose your job, you see, uh-oh, this cash cow is going down, and you have a choice in that moment.
Mhm.
And I think this can relate to so many people. You lose your job. What people lose jobs every day. So you're in that moment and you're like, oh my God. And you can either let it take you down and say, I'm not good enough, fight for a job, take a job you don't want, try to
Mhm.
stick with the grind, stay in the same pattern that you've always been in. Okay, I lost this one. I'll go jump in another startup because I can. Or you can say, okay, I'm going to trust that the world did this for a reason. And the world did this so that I could grow or so that I could put my energy towards what I really need to put it towards.
Oh
And I
yeah.
think that's a really hard decision for people to come to because it's real easy to feel like a victim.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
so and so did it to me or whatever. Oh, my luck, this sucks. So, or you can
Mhm.
say, oh, this was a blessing in disguise.
Mhm.
As hard as it is, it's a blessing. And for you, you took that
Uh,
as a blessing.
I did. It was hard. I will say it
Yeah.
wasn't easy. Like because ideally I want to leave on my own terms. Like there's an ego. I wanted to leave on my own terms. I didn't leave on my own terms, and it really shook me. Like it was something else. I think I cried for days, hours, but I just made a decision that I'm never ever letting somebody else decide my future or my career or question my who I am as a person because I know the kind of person I am. I'm not what they said. So that's it. I'm like I'm, that's I'm like, that's it. I'm going to start my business, my entrepreneur, what I've always been wanting to do, help more people, have more impact with my work than being the soul sucking job that I
Yep.
was in. And I just felt betrayal, right? In the end, it was betrayal.
Yeah.
And I gave it so much. I gave it my all. I gave it my all and I was betrayed. And I'm like, this is it. I'm never ever letting that happen to me again. And that's what, universe will make the decision for you. I wasn't making the decision to, hey, you have a different path, you have more lives to touch, you are here to have a greater impact, and you are not listening. So I'm going to do something so drastic. I'm going to shake
Yeah.
you
I'm gonna
so
knock
that you
you down.
start
Yeah.
paying attention. And yeah, and I finally heard that lesson, and I'm so glad that happened. Not the way it happened, but it's fine. We all need to learn. It is what it is.
Well, I think it happened that way because it needed to happen that way. I mean, I
Mhm.
don't, maybe you just would have never made that decision. All of those
Maybe.
patterns ingrained in you of saying, this is what you already have your dream job, can't go get another one. You can't go back to school. This was stupid. Like all the things that you hear in your head from those
Mhm.
childhood patterns were keeping you from actually moving towards what you wanted. And I think also one of the things I say to people when we're talking about adrenal fatigue, when you find yourself in that moment where you literally have no joy and you don't,
Mhm.
you're overwhelmed every day and you can't even figure out how to get out, is to go back to what brought you joy as a kid and
Mhm.
look at
Oh,
it.
yeah.
I went back to dance, and that's why I dance all over social media, right? That's why I
Mhm.
dance 6 hours a week. You wanted to run your own business when you were a kid. You knew that was your passion, but along the way, someone said, no, this is what we do. No, this is the path you're supposed to take to be successful. At
Mhm.
some point, I think as women in particular, although I'm not eliminating men from this because I know it
Mhm.
happens to them too, but
Yeah.
at some point, we have this dream, right? Maybe we want to be a ballerina when we're a
Mhm.
kid or whatever we want to do when we're a little girl, and it's all honored and it's like, oh, cute, we'll buy you a little ballerina outfit and you
Mhm.
can dance around. You're so cute. But then there's a point where you get to your teens or whatever and you're like, I want to be a ballerina. And they're like, okay, we need to have a talk. Like, you aren't understanding what you're supposed to be. You are supposed to be this, this, and this in this box. This is what we expect for you. And something in our brain says, okay. And we
Yeah.
turn and we
Mhm.
become what someone else wants us to be. And then there's a point in our lives where the world, if we haven't figured it out by then, the world pulls the rug out from under us and says, hey, do you remember who you used to be? Remember that beautiful little girl that just wanted to spin around the living room in a tutu? Go do
Yep.
that. Right. And it's such a beautiful moment. And I find this is happening to a lot of us right around that 38 to 42.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
when I talk to women who are younger and they're like, "Oh my god, I'm turning 30. Oh my," I'm like, "Okay, just wait. Like, just wait. You're doing stuff right now that you don't really wanna do, but wait until that beautiful 40." And then I see people that get to that point and they're so scared, they don't like the feeling of that shift. They don't like it. And they're getting anxiety and insomnia and thyroid issues and,
Mhm.
hormone fluctuations and all these things. And they're just constantly trying to control everything because they're like, wait, this isn't going at the plan that I wanted. And the lesson is let go.
Let go. Yep.
Let go, because otherwise the world is going to pull it out from under you and force you to see it. And either way, you still get to where you're going to go. So you can trust it's going to be okay, because it's either going to be forced upon you or you're going to recognize it and change it. You're going to get to where the world wants you to go, whether you just right. But it could be easier. It could
Y-
be easier to just let go and
y-
trust.
what you're just explaining is what I see every day. I'm sure you do as well, but related to health.
Mhm.
They keep covering, or take some over the counter medication to get, just cover the symptoms
Yep.
until they get a diagnosis to go figure out, hey, what's going on. And I'm like, don't wait for a diagnosis. Take care of your health, invest in your health today. And especially in the Silicon Valley, I know you see it, I see it, and I was there. Somehow it's not set up for women, right? Because everyone is having kids late,
Mhm.
and we know how hard it is. You don't have that village around you anymore to
Yep.
help you. You are, we are living in, like, small neutral families. You don't have that village. By 40 you probably have a position that you're managing people, or you're senior, you have a lot of pressure, and then you have to take care of yourself. And And that's when, the perimenopausal journey starts and the hormones are fluctuating. And
Yeah.
I see it with my family members around me. And I'm like, I'm here when you're ready to talk. I'm here. You need to do something different
Mhm.
because this isn't going to hit menopause and things are not, you're going to, the menopause journey doesn't have to be bumpy. It can be smooth.
It can be
It's your,
absolutely smooth. Yeah.
yes. And it's your
Yeah.
choice you make today. And it's just, unfortunately, it's just not set up that way for, women are expected, you're going to do it all. You're going to have a family, you're going to raise it, and then you're going to become the VP, SVP, CEO, whatever you want to do at the same time, and take care of your
You're
health, your
gonna do it
hormones,
well,
and
and
you're
you're
going to
gonna
do it
do it
well.
perfectly, and it's yeah, I mean,
Uh,
I've thought about this a lot over the years as we look at what the generations, over the generations, like when my grandmother was 50 and going through menopause, she wasn't working a full-time job. Her full-time job was her children, right?
mhm.
And when they got out of the house, my grandmother was kind of kooky in all real respect. She was like she was a beauty queen and in entertainment and
Mhm.
but she would spend her when her kids were finally out of the house, she would go to church and sing, like, so her menopause was very easy, very easy.
Yep.
Because she was like, well, I just do what I want to do and whatever.
Mhm.
And then I look at my mom, who was in the generation where she was being raised in the 50s and 60s, where it was the women's liberation movement, where now she was trying to learn how to balance being a working mom and the expectations, but yet seeing her mom and the what women were before and trying to be
Mhm.
part of this new movement, right? And then we're sitting there watching that. We're watching them struggle. And now we're now supposed to go off and become doctors, lawyers, engineers. Not, she was growing up in, wow, you can be a secretary, whoa, look at you. You can go be an operator on the telephone thing, right? Or you can go
Yep.
wait tables or whatever. But no one was saying you can be an engineer. No one was saying you can be a doctor, even though they could.
Mhm.
And then we're in that generation of, oh no, you're even better than a secretary. You can go off and change the world. You can be whatever you want to be, which is lovely. It's lovely and it's
Mhm.
so true. But with that came the technology boom, came that everyone has to reach everyone right now. And we got stuck. Our generation kind of got stuck in that middle of you can do everything and we're going to give you every single tool to do everything. And we don't really know how to handle that. And I think our adrenal glands, our endocrine systems are
Mhm.
just like, what the heck? And now I'm finding that I'm advising people to step back a little bit and be like, hold on now. I appreciate that you can do everything, but should you?
At what cost?
At what cost is it? And in all fairness, like, do I see my husband taking on every little responsibility in the house on top of his job? No. I mean, I love him and he does his
Mhm.
job, but he was not raised with the expectation that he had to do everything. It, he volunteers to help. He's like, hey, I'll make dinner tonight. I'm like, great. But I somehow had this idea that I was supposed to take
Mhm.
it all on. I was supposed to take on the children's problems. I'm supposed to know where the shoes are. The house is supposed to be clean because of me. The dinner's supposed to be
And what's in the fridge and what grocery items you need. I'm sure you have a running checklist in
right.
your
And
mind.
so where did we miscommunicate women empowerment along the way? I do wonder that, because what do we deem as successful and what diseases do we now see in our generation? We see a ton of perimenopause issues. We see a ton of thyroid issues,
Thyroid issues.
adrenal issues. We see autoimmunity. We see
Mhm.
high inflammation. We see a lot of symptoms like brain fog and dementia and all of these things that are proven to be helped by calming the body in a parasympathetic state and doing things you like to do. Joy.
And
So,
you have to be a figure 2 or 4 at the same time as well.
right, right,
You
exactly.
and fast all the time to do
Yeah.
that. It's just crazy.
So,
Like the
isn't
first,
it up to us to change that? Like, I think
oh
it's up
yeah,
to us to change that. We have to.
yeah. Because now they're like, oh, you can go break the glass ceiling, but it wasn't set up. The men were always in the most powerful position. It wasn't really built for women. What you were just describing, it just took me back to 2020 when COVID hit and everywhere shut down. We were home. I was
Mhm.
still working in my Silicon Valley job at that point, and I had a 3 or 4 year old child at that point and working. And I think that's the first time the men who were in power realized how hard it is for working moms
Mhm.
to really, you've got to take care of your child, and I had to be on my customer calls and make snacks all the time. I
And be
think
the
I
teacher, and be the babysitter, and the
and everything. I
yeah,
think the number of times I would cry. I think
yeah,
got on a call with a manager and I'm just in tears. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't
yep.
really do. And you're right. It's not that my husband wouldn't help
Yeah, I'm not
and
man bashing
plays role.
because they just have a
No,
different viewpoint on it. They were
they just
raised
don't.
with a different viewpoint, a different pattern in their brain than
Mhm.
we were.
They just didn't think that way of, I while I'm doing this, I need to think about what do we have the right
In
groceries
the
for
fridge.
tomorrow
Yeah.
in the fridge for tomorrow or the running checklist. Even now, again, I love my husband. He does a
Yeah.
lot. Even when I had a baby and I'm like, I know exactly what everything is and what he needs to go get, like what's going on. It's just we're just wired this way and we're not special. It's just how we are raised or what we
Yeah,
are or what's expected
and we
from
need to
us.
change that. I think we
Yeah.
need to change that for the women of the next generation, for the kids in general. I think
And
I
being a
have
voice,
boys.
I
Yeah.
have boys too, and I'm like, I need to do better, and I want to raise them that they need to take care of the house and know how to take
Yeah.
care of themselves. They don't need another person to take care of themselves. Um, and and just even in Silicon Valley, I have a lot of men in Silicon Valley as client as well, and they go through their own different pressures, and they keep moving their sessions. The getting a little technical and a little medicine, like the
Yeah,
testosterone of a mid early 40-year-old is like an old person,
I know.
and the iron for one of my clients, his ferritin was in 400s, and I'm like, this
So
is all stress
insane.
and inflammation that's driving this. In his scenario, I'm like, you can't have a ferritin level of 400, and that like it's been this way. The doctors never really said anything to me before.
And then they
I'm
keep
like,
putting it off. "I'll do it when I get back from this trip. I'll do it when I get back from this trip." You know,
yeah.
I do tell the story often, so sorry if you've heard it before, but my dad was in his 50s. He was 58, I think,
Hmm.
at the time this happened. Walks downstairs to get breakfast, opens the fridge, boom, hit with a stroke, to the ground, in a coma. That's it. That was it.
Yeah.
That was his last day. He didn't wake up knowing that was his last day. And I have absolutely no doubt that there were things he wanted to accomplish that
Hmm.
he was going to do later when he
Hmm.
retired, when, this happened or that happened. I have no doubt that there were things he put off in his life to work like a dog, to make money, to save up for retirement so that he could go play. And he never got to play.
Yeah.
And I think about that when I get stuck in that rut, when I get stuck in
Mm.
that overwhelmed rut, because this is, we're both sitting here saying we got through this. We're not saying that every day is a cakewalk. It's freaking hard. And it's a reminder all the time that we're like, okay, we have to remind ourselves, hey, why are we here? What are we doing this for?
Mhm.
You know? And at what expense are we going to put aside our health for other people and other people's expectations of what we're supposed to be doing? I mean, I've gotten to the point where I can now walk past the sink in the kitchen with a dirty dish in it and not wash it, which took me forever.
I
It
know
took
what
me
you mean.
forever because I was like, oh, no one's going to do this. I have to do it. You know what, Trisha? No, you don't. You
Yeah.
actually don't have to do it. You could ask your husband to do it because he'd be willing to do it. You could ask your kids to do it. You could hire someone to do it.
Mm.
Whatever the situation is, I have an option about whether or not I want to take that on or whether I
Mhm.
want to let that go or whether I want to delegate it. I have that choice every single day with everything. And that's a very simple example, but I just think about why is it my job to call the orthodontist to make sure when the appointment
Mhm.
is? Someone else could do that, right?
Yeah.
So it's a day-to-day grind, and I think I commend you for taking that opportunity that the world gave you. And instead of saying, "Oh, woe is me, I screwed this up, I failed, I'm never going to be good enough, I can't do
Mhm.
this, see, blah, blah, blah. This other thing has distracted me from doing this job. I better give up my dream and go back into what I've always been done." You didn't do that. And I
Mhm.
hope that gives some sort of light to those of there out there that say, I'm doing what I don't want to do every day and I don't
Yeah.
like my life. And it is okay to make a pivot.
Absolutely. We just have one life, one short life, and you never know when it will be your last day. And I'm Sorry about to hear about dad. I just recently lost my dad too, and he was, got a prostate cancer diagnosis the year prior, and within the year he was gone. And he was the one who never took his health. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Never, everything felt fine, so it's fine. And then no, and in India especially, nobody was checking PSA level. I don't get it. After 50, you got to check your PSA level, and
Simple.
simple. And
Yeah.
when he was 75, 76, PSA is 200 something, and
Oh.
it was just too late, right? And that's why I tell everyone, don't wait. Take your health into your own hands. Don't wait. As you're right, if you have the option to delegate, if you have the means, great. If not, divide. Like, do what you're here. Do on this plan what you're here for. Don't. I was uh, trying to give up on my dreams, on somebody else's expectations. My worth took me a while, like, of, you know, even loving myself. Like, how do I love myself? That my
Mhm,
worth, so I don't have to get validation from my accomplishments.
mhm.
No, it's not from my work or not from the next promotion I get. That's not my worth. I'm worthy just because I am, period. It's not perfect. I still have to remind myself there are days I'm like, what am I doing here? Uh, I should be on Instagram, doing different things, or sending. But I'm like, okay, I need to here to take care of myself. I need to slow down. I have a small baby. I need to, we were just talking. I'm like, I need to lose weight, and I'm like, gosh, I
No,
just had a baby 8 weeks ago. It's all right.
you're beautiful.
uh,
And what an amazing thing for your body to have a baby. I mean, that's just it fascinates me, and when you turn your perspective on that. I mean, growing up in the modeling industry, it was all
mm,
about figure, and when I got pregnant, it was really hard on me. It was
mhm,
really, really hard on me to see me like that, and it was very hard afterwards because I expected I should bounce right back. Within weeks, I should be back to and even though I lost the weight, my body was a different shape. I
yeah,
just looked different, and it still sometimes gets me, and I'm like, "Hey, wait a minute," like, look at like,
yeah,
it's hard, and I think you had said something earlier about being curious
hmm,
and approaching things with curiosity, and I think that's a great way to kinda sum it up because I think some of the objectors would say, "Oh, yeah, well, you may have the funds to hire someone for that," or, "Oh, yeah, you may have the luxury of having the skill, but I
mm,
don't," like, coming up with excuses. And the thing is you can always figure it out. You can always figure it out. You can always take care of your health. I get some people say, "Well, that's great, but I don't have insurance," or, "That's great, but I can't afford the provider," or, "That's great." Everything can be figured out if you approach it with curiosity. It's just the way that you're envisioning it is not the way it needs to be. You're imagining that you have to have this money right now at this moment in order to invest in
hmm,
this. But that maybe there's a different path. Maybe there's a different opportunity over here that you're not seeing because you're so hyper focused in this direction. Everything always opens up doors. There's always numerous paths in front of us, and you get to choose right now which path you take.
yeah,
And if you're having objections to it, it's because you're imagining what the outcome is or how it goes about when you have to just trust the path and take a step. You just have to walk into it. And the next path will open. And then the next path will open. And then the next path
makes
will
sense.
open.
The
And then you'll
fear
end
is
up where you're
always about
supposed
the
to be.
unknown. The fear is
Yeah.
always about the unknown, or our anxiety is always about something that we don't even know. If we're anxious about the future. So until just do it, just take the leap and put yourself first, your health first. If you're not, don't take, as I said, don't accept the norm.
Yeah.
This is how I'm supposed to feel. Take your health into your own hands, because when you're feeling your best, you will, whoever it is, you'll be able to live up to your potential of
Yeah.
whatever that is to be,
Yeah.
whether to be an entrepreneur or even in your Silicon Valley job. And some people love their job. They love what they do. Awesome. Like, you'll be able to give 100% more to it
Hmm.
while feeling good and take care of your family. Just don't give up. Don't take the norm.
Yep.
And
One step.
one step at a time. You don't know what's waiting behind the next door until we open it. Don't.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much. Now let people know how to find you if they want to learn from you more. How would they find you?
Yeah, they can find me on my website, divyagupta.net. And if you go there, if especially in the Southeast Asian culture, there are a lot of hypothyroidism, and
Mhm.
um, you know, it just, I don't want to say it's in the genes. We are more prone to it for whatever reason, but I would love for anyone, but it's on the rise for both men and women
Mhm.
because we're living in such a toxic world and stress. I don't think even men are immune to it anymore.
No.
So, and I want everyone to become CEO of their own bodies and to know more when they go meet the doctor. Don't be like me. Okay, fine. I'll go take the medicine or I'll get my gallbladder out, do better. So I have created a guide where I've listed all the symptoms, not all, most of the symptoms of hypothyroidism because it can manifest in so many different ways. And then the six key blood work that they should get done and
Great.
the optimal values, not standard values, but optimal. And what does it even mean? What is T4?
Yeah.
What is T3? What is T? So even it described like, so when you go to the doctor, you're more smart about it. So you can ask the question, tell them these are the tests I want done. So they can grab that guide. They can also find me on Instagram at underscore Div Gupta. That's where I spend a lot of my time. And yeah, so I'm keeping it simple on a few channels.
I love it. I think it's great. And I really hope that people take you up on getting that opt in there because it is so important to be your own health advocate and not just accept and create your own path and walk in it and own it and just be
Yep.
you and trust
Just
it. And that is, the wrap up of the beauty of your story. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day to hang with me today.
oh, thank you so much for
Away
having me.
from a baby tugging at you.
Oh, trust me, I'm enjoying this. It's, to get ready, to take a shower and be here and nobody needs me at this point. I love it.
Good. Well, thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate you.
Thank you.